numeration, one of the first great intellectual feats of a young child is learning how to talk, closely followed by learning how to count. From earliest childhood, we are so bound up with our system of numeration that is the feat of imagination to consider the problem focused by the earlier humans who had not yet developed this facility. Careful consideration of our system of numeration leads to the conviction that rather than being a facility that comes naturally into a person, it is one of the great and remarkable achievements of the human race. It is impossible to learn the sequence of events that lead to our developing the concepts of number. Even the earliest of tribes had a system of numeration that, if not advanced, was sufficient for the task that they had to perform. Our ancestors had little use for actual numbers. Instead, their considerations would have been more of the kind, is this enough, rather than how many. And when they were engaged in food gathering, for example, however, when earlier humans first began to reflect on the nature of things around them, they discovered that they needed an idea of number simply to keep their thoughts in order. As they began to settle grow plants and herb animals, the need for a sophisticated number system become paramount. It will never be known how and when this numeration ability developed, but it is certain that numeration was well developed by the time humans had formed even semi-permanent settlements. Evidence of earlier states of arithmetical and numeration can be readily found. The indigenous people of Tanzania were only able to count one too many. In those of South Africa, counted number and words are often accompanied by gestures to help resolve any confusion. For my hands and for example, when using the one-to-many type of system, the word many would mean look at my hands and see how many fingers I am showing you. This basic approach is limited in the range of numbers that it can express, but this range will generally suffice when dealing with the similar aspect of human existence. The lack of ability of some cultures to deal with large number is not really surprising. European languages, when traced back to the earlier version, are very poor in number, words, and expressions. The ancient Gothic word for 10 is used to express the number 100 as 1,000 touched. By the 7th century, the word had become interchangeable with the of the Anglo-Saxon language, and so 100 was developed and hung or 10 times 10. The average person in the 17th century in Europe was not as familiar with numbers as we are today. In fact, so to qualify as a witness in a court of law, a man had to be able to count to 9. Perhaps the most fundamental steps in developing a sense of number is not the ability to count, but rather to say that a number is really an abstract idea instead of a simple attachment to a group of particular objects. It must have been within the grasp of the earliest humans to see that 4 birds are distinct from 2 birds. However, it is not an elementary step to associate the number 4 as connected with 4 birds to the number 4 as connected with 4 rods. According associating a number as one of the qualities of a specific object is great adherence to the development of a true number sense. When the number 4 can be registered in the mind as a specific word, independent of the object being referenced, and the individual is ready to take the first step towards the development of a rotational system for numbers, and from there to arithmetic transits of the very first stage in the development of numeration can be seen in several living languages. Today, the numeration system of the Tasmania language in British Columbia contains 7 distinct sets of words for numbers according to the class of the item being counted, for counting flat objects and animals, for round objects and time, for people, for long objects and trees, for canoes, for measures, and for counting when no particular object is being enumerated. It seems that the last is the later development, where the first 6 groups show the relics of an older system. This diversity of number names can also be found in some widely used languages such as Japanese. Intermixed with the development of a number sense is the development of an ability to count. Counting is not directly related to the formation of number concepts because it is possible to count by matching the items being counted against a group of petals, grains of corn, or the counter's finger. And these acts would have been indispensable to very early people who would have found the process impossible without some form of mechanical act, such as were different are still used even by the most educated in today's society due to their convenience. All counting ultimately involved reference to something other than the things being counted. At the first, it may have been grains or petals, but now it is a memorized sequence of words that as happen to be the names of numbers. Numeral brothers opened their cinematography as 14 Bowland campus in Paris to 100 paying customers over 100 years ago on December 8, 1895, before the eyes of the stunned, thrilled audience. Photographs came to life and moved across a flat screen. So ordinary and routine has this become to us that it takes a determined leap of the imagination to grasp the impact of these first moving images. But it is worth trying for to understand the initial shock of those images, to understand the extraordinary power and magic of cinema, the unique athletic quality that has made film the most dynamic, effective arts form of the 20th century. One of the Newman's Brothers' earliest film was a 30-second piece which showed a section of railway platform flooded with sunshine. A train appears and hits straight for the cinema, and that is all that happens. Yes, the Russian director and Tarkovsky, one of the greatest of all film artists, described the film as a work of genius. As the train approached, Tarkovsky panic start in the theater. People jumped and ran away. That was the moment when cinema was born. The frightened audience could not accept that they were watching a mere picture. Pictures were still, only reality moved. This must, therefore, by reality, in their confusion, they feared that a real train was about to cross them. Earlier, cinema audience often experience the same confusion. In time, the idea of film became familiar, the magic was accepted, but it never stopped being magic. The film has never lost its unique power to impress its audience and transport them to a different world. For Tolkien, and the key to that magic was the way in which cinema created a dynamic image of the real flow of events. A still picture would only imply the existence of time, where time is a novel or passed at the whim of the reader. But in cinema, the real, objective flow of time was captured. One effect of this realism was to educate the world about itself. For cinema makes the world smaller long before people traveled to America or anywhere else. They knew what the other places looked like. They knew how other people worked and lived. Overwhelmingly, their lives recorded, at least in film fiction, have been American. From the earliest days of the industry, Hollywood has dominated the world for film markets. American imagery is the cars, the cities, the cowboys become the primary imagery of film. Film carried American life and values around the globe. And the thanks to film, future generations will know the 20th century more intimately is than any other period. One can only imagine what life was like in the 14th century or in the classical Greece, but the life of the modern world has been recorded on film in massive encyclopedic detail, which will be learned better than any preceding generations. The Star Wars another natural consequence of cinema. The cinema Star Wars effectively born in 1910. Film personality have such an immediate person that inevitably they become super real because we watch them so closely and because everybody in the world seems to know who they are. They appear more real to us than we do ourselves. And the star as magnified human self is one of cinema's most strange and enduring legacies. Cinema has also given a new lease of life to the idea of the story. When the Lehman Brothers and other pioneers began showing off this new invention, it was by no means obvious how it would be used. As that mattered at their first was the wonder of the moment. Indeed, some signs that once this novelty had worn off, cinema would fade away. It was no more than a passing gimmick of foreground attraction. Cinema, for example, have become primarily a documentary form, or its mass have developed like television. The strange, noisy transfer of music, information, and narrative. But what happened was that it became overwhelmingly a medium for telling stories. Originally, these were conceived as short story. Earlier producers doubted the ability of audience to concentrate for more than the length of a reel. Then, in 1912, Italian 2-hour film was hugely successful, and Hollywood settled upon the longer length narrative that remains the dominant cinematic convention of today, and it has all happened so quickly, almost unbelievably. It is a mere 100 years since that train arrived and the audience screamed and fled convinced by the dangerous reality of what they saw, and perhaps starting aware that the world could never be the same again. That may be it could be better, brighter, more astonishing, more real than reality. Primarily. Motivating employees under advised condition needs a great deal easier to motivate employees in a growing organization than a declining one, where organizations are expanding and adding personal promotional opportunities, pay rise, and the excitement of being associated with a dynamic organization creates a feeling of optimism. Management is able to use the growth of interests and encourage employees. When an organization is shrinking, the best and most mobile workers are prone to leave voluntarily. Unfortunately, they are the ones organization can afford to lose. Those with the highest skill and experience, and minor employees remain because their job options are limited. Morale also suffers during decline. People fear they may be the next to be made redundant. Productivity often suffers as employees spend their time sharing rumors and providing one another with moral support rather than focusing on their jobs. For those whose jobs are secure, pay increases are rarely impossible. Pay cuts are heard of during times of growth may even be imposed. The challenge to management is how to motivate employees under such retrenchment conditions. The ways of meeting this challenge can be broadly divided into 6 key points, which are outlined below. Key points 1. There is an abundance of evidence to support the motivational benefits that result from carefully matching people to jobs. For example, if the job is running a small business and carefully matching people to jobs. For example, if the job is running a small business or an autonomous or until unit within a large business, high achievers should be sought. However, if the job to be filled is managerial post in a large organization, candidates who has a high need for power and a low need for affiliation should be selected accordingly. High achievers should not be put into jobs that are inconsistent with their needs. High achievers will do best when their job provides moderately challenging goals and where there is independence and feedback. However, it should be remembered that not everybody is motivated by jobs that are highly independent, variety and responsibility. Key point 2. The literature on goal setting theory suggests that managers should ensure that all employees have specific goals and receive comments on how well they are doing in those goals. For those with high achievement needs, typically minority in any organization, the existence of external goals is less important because high achievers are already internally motivated. The next factor to be determined is whether the goals should be assigned by a manager or collectively set in conjunction with the employees. The answer to that depends on perceptions of goal, acceptance, and the organization's culture. If resistance to goals is expected, the use of participation in goal setting should increase acceptance. If participation is inconsistent with the culture. However, goals should be assigned. The participation and the culture are incongruous. Employees are likely to perceive the participation process as manipulative and be negatively affected by it. Key point 3, regardless of whether goals are achievable or within management's perceptions of the employee's ability. If ability sees them as unachievable, they will reduce their efforts. Managers must be sure, therefore, the employee to feel confident that their efforts can lead to performance goal. For managers, this means that employees must have the capability of doing the job and must regard the personal process as valid. Since employees have different needs, what acts as a reinforcement for one may lose for another. Managers could use their key knowledge of each employee to personalize the rewards over which they have control. Some of the more obvious rewards that managers allocate include pay, promotions, autonomy, job scopes, and depth, and the ability to participate in goal setting and decision making. Managers need to make rewards contingent on performance. To reward factors other than performance will only reinforce those other factors. Key rewards such as pay increase and promotion or advancements should be allocated for the attainment of the employee's specific goals, consistent with maximizing the impact of rewards. Managers should look for ways to increase their visibility, eliminating the secrecy surrounding pay by openly communicating. Everyone's remuneration, publicizing performance, balance, and allocating annual salary increases in a lump sum rather than spreading them out over an entire year are examples of actions that will make rewards more visible and potentially more motivating. And the way rewards are distributed should be transparent so that employee perceives that rewards or outcomes are equitable and equal to the input given. On the simplistic level, experience, abilities, efforts, and other obvious inputs should display differences in pay, responsibility, and other obvious outcomes. The problem, however, is complicated by the existence of dozens of inputs and outcomes and by the fact that employee groups place different degrees of importance on them. For instance, a study comparing cleric and production workers identified nearly 20 inputs and outcomes. The clerical workers considered factors such as quality of work performed and job knowledge near to top of their list, but they were at the bottom of the production workers list. Similarly, production workers thought that the most important inputs were intelligence and personal involvement with task accomplishment. Two factors that were quite low in the importance ratings of the clerk. And there were also important, so less dramatic differences on the outcome side. For example, production workers rated advancement very highly, whereas clerical workers rated advancement in the lower third of their list. Such findings suggest that one person's equality is another inequality. So on idle So now they should probably weigh different inputs and outcomes according to employees' group. The search for the anti-aging pill. In governments, laboratory, and elsewhere, scientists are seeking a drug able to prolong life and useful vigor. Studies of caloric restriction are showing the way, as researchers on aging noted recently. Those treatments on the market today has been provided to slow human aging. The build-up of molecular and cellular damage that increases vulnerability to infirmity as we grow older. But one intervention, consumption of a low-calorie, yes, nutritionally balanced diet works incredibly well in a broad range of animals, increase longevity and prolong good health. Those findings suggest that caloric restriction could delay aging and increase longevity in humans too. Unfortunately, for maximum benefits, people would probably have to reduce their caloric intake by roughly 30%, equivalent to dropping from 2,500 calories a day to 1,750. Few models could stick to that harsh regimen, especially for years of age. But what if someone could create a pill that mimicked the physiological effects of eating less without actually forcing people to eat less? Could such a calorie restriction, mimetic as we call it, enable people to stay healthy longer, postponing age-related disorders such as diabetes, atherosclerosis, heart disease, and cancer? Until very late in life, scientists first posed this question in the mid-1990s after researchers came upon a chemical agent that in rodents seem to reproduce many of calorie restriction benefits. Low compounds that would safely achieve the same fate in people has been found yet, but the research has been informative and has found hope that calorie restriction mimetic can indeed be developed eventually. The benefits of calorie restriction, the helpful thing are mimetics, grew out of a desire to better understand caloric restriction main effects on the body. Scientists first recognized the value of the participants' practice more than 60 years ago when they found that rats fed a low-calorie diet lived longer on average than free-feeding ants. When they found that rats fed a low-calorie diet lived longer on average than free-feeding rats, and also had a reduced incidence of conditions that become increasingly common in old age. What is more, some of the treated animals survived longer than the oldest living animals in the control group, which means that the maximum lifespan, the oldest attainable age, not merely is the long lifespan increased. Whereas interventions such as infection and fighting drugs can increase a population average survival time, but only approaches that slow the body's risk of aging will increase the maximum lifespan. The drug findings has been replicated many times and extended to creatures ranging from to fruit flies, worms, fish, spiders, mice, and hamster. Until fairly recently, the studies were limited to short-lived creatures, genetically distant from humans, but calorie restriction urges underway in two species more closely related to humans. rational, and square monkeys. Square monkeys have made scientific scientists of investigate that they are mimetics could harm people. The monkey project demonstrates that compared with control animals that is normally calorie restricted, monkeys have lower body temperatures and levels of their pancreatic ammonia insulin, and they retain more useful levels of certain hormone and that tend to forward age. And the caloric restricted animals also look better on indicators of risk of age-related disease. For example, they have lower blood pressure and triglyceride level, signifying decreased likelihood of heart disease, and they have more normal blood glucose levels, pointing to a reduced risk of diabetes, which is marked by a usually high blood glucose level. Further, this has recently been shown that rational monkeys kept on calorie-restricted diets for an extended time, nearly 50 years, had less chronic diseases. The other monkeys must have been followed still longer. However, to know whether low calorie intake can increase both average and the maximum lifespan in monkeys, unlike the multitude of elixir being touted as the latest anti-aging cure. They are mimetics would alter fundamental process that underline aging. We aim to develop compounds that full cell into activating the maintenance and the repel. How a prototype calorie restriction mimetic works. The best studies candidates for a calorie restriction mimetic 2DG to glucose works by interfering with the way cell process glucose. It has proved toxic as some does in animals, and so cannot be used in humans. Bodies have demonstrated that chemicals can replicate the effects of caloric restrictions. The trick is finding the right one. Cells use the glucose from food to generate ATP, and then the molecule that powers many activities in the body. By limiting food intake, restriction minimizes the amount of glucose entering cell and decrease ATP generation. When 2DG is administered to animals that is normally, glucose reaches cells in abundance, but the drug prevents most of it. Animals that is normally, glucose reaches cells in abundance, but the drug prevents it from being processed and thus reduced ATP synthesis. Researchers have proposed several explanations for why interruption of glucose processing and ATP production treated aging. One possibility relates to the ATP making machinery emission of free radicals, which are thought to contribute to aging and to such age-related disease as cancer by damaging cells. Reduced operation of the machinery should limit their production and thereby constrain their damage. Another hypothesis suggests that decreased processing of glucose could indicate to cells that food is scarce or even evident and induce them to shift into an anti-aging model that emphasizes preservation of the organism over such necessaries as growth and reproduction. Doctoring sales pharmaceutical is one of the most profitable industry in North America, but due to the drugs industry's sale and marketing strategies go too far. A few moments ago, Kim Sheffield, sales representative of a major global pharmaceutical company, walked into the medical center in New York to bring information and free samples of her company's latest products. The day she was lucky, a doctor was available to see her. The last rep offered me a trip to Florida. What do you have? The physician asked. He was only half joking. What was on offer that day was a pair of tickets for a New York musical. But on any given day, what sheriffs can offer is typically for today's drugs rep, a car trunk full of promotional gifts and gadgets. Gadgets that could buy lunch and dinner for a small country. Hundreds of free drug samples and the freedom to give a physician $200 to prescribe her new product to the next 6 patients who fit the drug's profile. And she also have a few 1,000 L'Oreal to offer in exchange for doctors' attendance at her company. In its next educational lecture, studying pharmaceutical is the daily exercise in ethical judgments. Salespeople like suffer work that was the line between the common practice of buying a prospect time with a free meal and bringing doctors to prescribe the drugs. They work in an industry highly practice for sales and marketing in practice, but find themselves in the middle of the age-old chicken or egg question. Businesses won't use strategies that don't work, so doctors are blamed for the escalating extravagance of pharmaceutical marketing, or if it is the industry's responsibility to decide the boundaries. The explosion in the sheer numbers of salespeople in the field and the amount of funding used to promote their causes forced close examination of their pressures, influenced and the relationships between drugs reps and doctors. Salespeople provide much needed information and education to physicians. In many cases, the glossy brochures, articles, reference and prescriptions they delivered are primary sources of drug face-to-face selling. Education for healthcare givers. With the huge investments the industry has placed in face-to-face selling, salespeople have essentially become specialists in a drug or a group of drugs. A tremendous advantage in getting the attention of buying doctors in need of quick information. But the sales push rarely stops in the office. The flash brochures and pamphlets left by the sales reps are often followed up with meals at expensive restaurants, meeting in warm and sunny place, and an intention mentioned, our promotional gauges. Rarely do patients watch a doctor wrestle with a pain that is wrestle with a dry limb, or see a nurse use a tablet nose bearing a pharmaceutical company's logo. Millions of dollars are spent by pharmaceutical companies on promotional products like coffee mugs, shirts, umbrellas, and golf balls. The money were spent is hard to tell. I've been the reference of a golf ball also from one company and I use them, but it doesn't make me prescribe the medical, says the one doctor. I tend to think I'm less influenced by what they give me. For example, of new and expensive drugs might be the single most effective way of getting doctors and patients become loyal to a product. Salespeople hand out hundreds of dollars worth of sample each week. 7.2 billion US dollars worth of them in 1 year, though a few comprehensive studies have been conducted. One by the University of Washington investigated how drug sample availability affected what physicians prescribed. A total of $131 self-reported the prescribed pattern. The conclusion was that the ability of samples led them to dispense and prescribe drugs that's different from the preferred drugs of choice. The bottom line is that pharmaceutical companies as a whole invest more in marketing than they do in research and development, and patients are the ones who pay in the form of skyrocketing prescription price for every pen that's handed out, every free theater ticket, and every stick eaten. In the end, that the fact remains that pharmaceutical companies have every right to make a profit and will continue to find a new way to increase its sales. But as the medical world continues to grapple with what's acceptable and what's not, it is clear that companies must continue to be heavily scrutinized for their sales and marketing strategies.